Welcome. Today we're here with Dr. Delahanty, the Superintendent of Schools, and he just announced his retirement. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Can you give us a quick synopsis of your career in education and how you eventually became the Superintendent of Schools?
Sure. That spans 42 years, so it's hard to synopsize 42 years briefly, but I'll give some highlights. I started teaching in a large Maine school district. And shortly after I started, I began to realize that some of my colleagues didn't really like kids and acted in a way that was somewhat disrespectful of kids, and I thought that someone ought to correct that or address that, and I wasn't in a position to do it. But after some time, I realized that administrators should be the people that would step in and intervene in some way and either coach that person out of the profession or help them improve their skills. And that prompted a decision to become an administrator. So I was a classroom teacher for 3 years and then became sort of a quasi-administrator. I was like an assistant principal for 4 years, 5 years, and then I came to Salem as the principal of North Salem School and worked with some wonderful educators. Came to love Salem and the Salem School District, but over the course of 5 years, I decided I wanted to be in a school that was larger and had a broader scope of responsibility. And so I began looking for other administrator jobs. The superintendent at the time, Dr. Henry LaBranch, knew I was looking for another option, and then the middle school vacancy opened. I applied for that job and was hired to go to Woodbury School. And I was there for 8 years, and I was asked to come to the high school when Mr. Corbin left to go to Nashua. I was here for 2 years, and I loved being here at the high school. I've loved every one of my jobs in Salem, but Dr. LaBranch was still the superintendent then, and he talked with me and said, if you have any designs on coming to the central office, I want you to let those ideas go because I need you to stay at the high school. There's been some changeover frequently, and we need some stability. Well, they interviewed candidates for the assistant superintendent vacancy that had come up, and let's just say the pool was shallow. There weren't any strong candidates that the committee that was interviewing liked. So Dr. LaBranch came to me and asked if I would be interested in being the assistant superintendent. And at that point, I had become a big believer in systems thinking and developing education systems as opposed to individual schools within a system, but I don't want to get too deep into that. And then after about 2 months, 3 months being the assistant superintendent, the superintendent told me that he was thinking about retiring at the end of the following year and asked if I would be interested in being the superintendent. And honestly, I loved being the assistant superintendent, but I decided that I loved Salem and the Salem School District more, and I didn't want to see another school administrator coming in and forming his or her own image, the district in his or her own image. So I stepped into the superintendent's role, and I've been doing it ever since.
Okay. And what made you want to get into the education field originally?
So I've always loved kids. I had an opportunity as a college sophomore to experience a classroom for the first time and observe kids and observe teaching. And I saw the relationship between those students and their teacher, and I thought that was wonderful. And I believed that I would love the opportunity to really develop a relationship with kids and have them count on me and rely on me to be there for them whenever they needed something. And that relationship was something that I valued, and I valued for several years, many years into my teaching career.
Do you have a best memory of being superintendent?
I think the best memory of being superintendent is the evening of the deliberative session in the spring of 2009, when we had kindergarten on the school district warrant. It was going to be a question put to voters, and it was the old auditorium, the old Salem High School auditorium. Kindergarten had not been a program in Salem, and Salem was one of only 8 communities remaining in the entire country that didn't have public kindergarten. Efforts had been made since the 1980s. I was working with a stellar group of parents and educators to propose a kindergarten program, but there was a risk that we might lose support for that program. More than 750 people showed up in that auditorium that evening, to the point where the fire chief had to warn the moderator that we were exceeding capacity. And that was gratifying for me, because most of the people in the room that evening were there to support a public kindergarten program. And it's an incredibly, it was stressful and tension-filled at the time, at the moment, but looking back, that's one of the most gratifying moments of my time as a superintendent.
And what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment?
I think it's it's the entire staff, but more specifically the leadership team. So all of our administrators, the principals, the directors, the assistant principals, the deans of students, all have been hired while I've been superintendent. And they have direct contact with staff and students on a daily basis, as opposed to me, who deals more with community and political and governmental and budgets and our school board. I don't get as much time with students as I would like, but students is the priority. That's has been with me and always will be with me. And administrators influence how students are treated. And over time, I think we've been able to hire administrators who care deeply about kids and expect a lot of teachers who deal daily with kids. So I think the leadership team and the culture expectations that they have are similar to mine. And in fact, I'd be very disappointed and even angry if I learned that there was an administrator that wasn't passionate about student success. So I think as a result of the leadership team being where it is in its development and who the people are that make up that team, that they hire very good teachers. And so our entire staff is truly stellar. And the evidence is simply that the vast majority of our staff, unlike other school districts right now in this very trying time, are showing up every day. They're coming in, they're working with students in school, where most students in other communities are not in school every day. That's a testament to our staff, it's a testament to our leadership team.
What is one of the biggest challenges that you have faced?
Well, early on, I would say it was trying to gain support for where we wanted to go as a school district. And as you know, as everyone knows, the taxpayers in a community really shoulder the burden of financially supporting that community and that community's schools. So constantly or continuously asking homeowners and taxpayers to pay more in taxes is something I find off-putting and distasteful. I don't like it. However, it's my responsibility to ensure that our programs and practices and resources are going to benefit students And we're affording them opportunities that prepare them for the next step, whether that's the next grade level, the next school level, a post-secondary experience. We want them to have the skills that they need to succeed, and that requires resources. And you can't do it halfway. You have to be all in. And when you have good schools, you have good communities, you have communities where families want to move. That keeps the community vibrant, that keeps the community energetic. So the biggest challenge is continuously, annually going out and proposing a budget and earning support for that budget, including all of the school improvement projects we've done, the programs we've added. I would say that's been my biggest challenge.
What will you miss the most about this job?
So unquestionably, it's these kinds of opportunities. My opportunity to talk with you today, Joya, is very satisfying, very gratifying. I find it very rewarding to know that you're up here with Mr. Hazel every day working hard. I'll miss knowing that I'm part of that, and I'm going to miss the daily interactions I have with people in this school district. I think the absence of kids and staff in my life, once I am gone, is going to be an incredible void, and I'm going to miss it very much.
What will you miss the least?
I think, let's see. It will be interactions with individuals who are somehow bitter about something and want to lash out at somebody without basis for lashing out. So we have individuals in the community or parents or children's loved ones who don't understand or don't know all the facts and will simply be cruel or want to mistreat someone, anyone, just to make themselves feel better. I'm very fortunate that that's rare. I know in some communities that's frequent. But that's what I'll miss the least.
What has factored into your decision to retire at this point?
Well, first of all, I'm old, and I don't want people to look forward to me leaving. I would rather have people thinking, oh, it's too bad that he's retiring. But I also want people to look forward to the person taking my place. And I have tremendous respect for Maura Palmer. I hired Mrs. Palmer to be an assistant principal for me at Woodbury School in 1996, I think, and I've worked with her ever since. She had an opportunity to become a principal at an elementary school similar to me. Then she moved to the middle school to be principal similar to me, moved to the high school to be principal similar to me, and now she's been an assistant superintendent similar to me, and we've worked very, very closely. She will move this district into a much better place and reach new heights. And because she's ready to do that, and I'm old enough, I think it's a good time for me to go while I still have all my faculties.
So now this is the big question that everybody wants to know. Can you take us through your thought process on snow days?
Okay. Snow days. So I rarely will call a school off for snow day, but it starts with really listening to a weather report that forecasts snow. We have a meteorologist that our school district contracts with. We pay about $300 a year, so it's a modest amount of money. And I call him and I ask him what his forecast is for Salem. So generally you watch the evening news and they'll tell you what it's going to be like in northern New Hampshire or southern New England or whatever it might be, but they don't specify in our little community. Our meteorologist can actually tell me what he thinks it's going to be doing in Salem at a certain time. And so that'll give me a mindset of what I have to be thinking as this forecasted storm approaches. And then sometimes, and my colleagues, other superintendents, often will call off school the night before. Well, I know that New England weather is fickle. I grew up in Maine, so I went to school when there was 10 inches or a foot of snow on the ground and thought nothing of it. I wouldn't do that here, but a few inches of snow, anybody can survive a few inches. So if there's 3 inches of snow forecast, I know we're going to school. In the morning, so in December we had a storm coming and the timing was a little bit poor. I thought the worst of the storm was going to be during the day, and the worst thing to do is to have everybody get to school and then not be able to get home safely. So I canceled school, and I even did it the night before, which is unusual for me, but I felt confident given the forecast and given my conversation with the meteorologist, that was the right thing to do. So ordinarily, early in the morning, as early as 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll start paying more attention to what the weather forecast is. Sometime around 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll call the director of the Salem Department of Public Works, Mr. Wally, who's always already at work, and he'll tell me what his radar indicates. He'll tell me when they plan to start plowing, if they haven't already started plowing. And then by around 5 o'clock, I will talk with the meteorologist one last time and make a decision. So some people will look out their window and say, gee, it's snowing, I don't think we can have school today. It's a whole lot more effort than that, because I prefer everyone to be in school.
Mm-hmm. And do you have anything you would like to say
Snow days.
Or add? Do you have anything you'd like to say to the people of Salem who will be watching this?
Well, I am incredibly grateful for this community's support over all my time in Salem. I came in 1987, and I anticipated that I would leave. Initially, I thought I would leave at age 58, and then I decided to leave at age 50. Age 60 rather, and then we knew that the Woodbury project was on the horizon, so I decided to stay to make that proposal, and that proposal was approved last March, so it's well underway, and now I'm preparing to move on to hopefully become a teacher myself, and feel that same sense of connection to students again. But my family and I have been incredibly supported by this community and this school district and everybody who has come into contact with me, and even those that I don't know. And I am incredibly grateful for everything they've done for my family and me.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today, and we all wish you luck in your retirement.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.